Okay, Jonah Hex, the movie about the cult DC superhero based in a who essentially is kind of like a semi-undead cowboy. They go through his origin relatively fast. He was a soldier who turned on the Confederacy because the person he was working for, Quentin Turnbull, was kind of doing terrorist tactics, and Jonah wanted no part of that. Jonah also killed Turnbull's son, so Turnbull in turn decided to burn Jonah's family alive and then put a mark on his face. That was the QT, the Quentin Turnbull. And the Moors kind of leave him there to die. Some Native Americans found Jonah and brought him back to life, but not fully to life. So Jonah actually can talk to the undead. He can talk to the dead. But to make sure that he never would see the QT on his face, that would have been branded to his face, he took the back of his hand axe, his hatchet, and he essentially burned all that off. So when you see him, you know, he's got a section of skin right here, and the rest is all just scar tissue inside of his face. So whenever he's drinking, you know, booze pours out the side. And he goes try actually to hunt Turnbull down. He sees him die in a hotel fire. That portion is actually told through like a motion comic. And ironically, that would have been pretty interesting to have seen. You know, this movie's like an hour and 15 minutes. They probably could have made an hour and a half, if 15 minutes of it would have been him initially hunting down Turnbull and then being denied his vengeance. Then he decides to become a bounty hunter. And he has a very unique array of weapons. He carries Gatling guns on his horse. When he is finally enlisted by the United States military to hunt down Turnbull, because Turnbull is now building a super weapon, which essentially is kind of like a Gatling cannonball, like a Gatling cannon, because launches cannonballs, and this weird glowing orange ball, which when detonates sends a shockwave which makes all the other cannonballs explode. Okay, pretty interesting tool. So Jonah Hex essentially gets to go hunt down Turnbull, which is what he's really wanted to do this whole time. When he finally finds them, he has another gun. Think about a repeating crossbow, so like a handheld, you know, Chocano, that launches dynamite. So kind of like a repeating mini rocket launcher. You know, very interesting. You know, works pretty good. And then he gets gunned down by somebody, but he escapes, and then once again gets taken by Native Americans, where they heal his wounds. And then he kind of throws up a crow. So every time he's been killed, he is brought back to life, and then he regurgitates a crow. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, doesn't it also star Megan Fox? Yes, Megan Fox is the prostitute with a heart of gold, who is almost barely in this movie. That is a plus. She has this huge crush on Jonah Hex. And Jonah is still kind of like, you know, if you're with me, you're gonna die. So he doesn't really want to be with her. Turnbull, played fantastic by John Malkovich, doing one of his best John Malkoviches he's done in quite some time, decides to have somebody go kidnap her. You know, find what he loves, kidnap her, bring her here, and we'll use her as bait. So by the time he finally catches up to where Turnbull has his boat, yeah, I guess the ultimate weapon that was designed to help destroy nations is a Gatling cannon that can level a city, as well as what looks kind of like a steam-powered boat. It's hard to tell, because this movie is shot almost entirely at night, so everything is very dark. The sound goes from being kind of quiet when people are talking to ridiculously loud explosions are going on. And then, of course, at the very last minute, Jonah Hex finally succeeds in destroying the ship and killing Turnbull. Is it as bad as I thought it was going to be? No. It just feels like a Western with like a hint of supernaturalness to it. A very small hint, you know. The fact that he can touch someone who's freshly dead, they come back to life, but they begin to burn. To heal the burn, he puts some, you know, some earth on them. He uses it one time to actually get revenge on somebody. He brings them back and then punches them, which makes them explode into like a cloud of dust, kind of like killing a vampire in Blade. This isn't an absolutely horrible movie. It's not a really good movie. It's watchable. If you're into westerns, you might kind of like this because it has enough of a western flair to it. It's by no means a good western. It's also not a really great comic book movie, but I mean, it's, for all the crap it took, it's something that I never would have paid to have seen in a theater. If you have Netflix, you know, it'll take up a DVD slot because that's going to be mailed to your house. And beyond that, I wouldn't recommend paying to see this. And if it's part of a free service or a friend that owns it and wants you to borrow it, yeah. Is it worth $20 to own? No, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. If you'd have seen it in the theaters, you would have spent, you know, over $1 every 10 minutes, and it's really not worth that. The dialogue between Jonah Hex and Lila, which would be the Megan Fox character, is just, it's almost like George Lucasian in just how badly it's written. But to see John Malkovich as a villain, that alone makes it at least worth a decent watch.